made that comment. And I'm like, how can we turn that into a fundraiser? And I told my campaign staff, I said, we should have a fundraiser with a pajama party. We would be up all night and energy drinks, but really nobody wants to see me or Senator Joke in their pajamas. Asked if they would come up and be my special guest, and they turned that all down. But I can tell you that there are so many opportunities that the Republicans continue to give us to remind ourselves why we are so upset about the direction of this state. And when everything unfolded in February and March, and the early talks of recalls were happening, I said to Chris, I don't know if people can stay that angry and keep this momentum, and then we talked about January and recalling Governor Walker. But every week they give us more ammunition to remind ourselves why we are so mad about the tone and the process and the direction and these really extreme agendas that are pushing through. And we are going to see that tomorrow when Steve and I go down to Madison. We only have one bill up on the calendar tomorrow, which is very unusual. We usually have 15 to 20. But they are nervous and they're desperate and they want to pass that concealed carry here in this state. And that's the one thing we're going to do tomorrow when we go down to Madison, is to debate that bill. But as we look forward and look ahead to this election in July, when they were wooing me to run and asking me to run, they said, oh, Jen, will be done in June, you'll have July off, you'll have fun. Now, I would always say, well, when things get tough, I always think, maybe I should recall myself. But I tell you, that's not even a joke anymore, because it can happen. But I could not be more pleased and honored to be out there on the campaign trail, to be your voice in Madison, and to be your voice as I travel throughout the 32nd District. And if it's going down and learning how to square dance on a full stomach down in Gays Mills, which don't do that, note to self, do not square dance on a full stomach, or if it's eating smelt fry when I'm down in Stoddard, or if it's doing karaoke at the Chicken Q Crazy a couple weeks ago at the Concordia, or today down in Lafarge with Organic Valley, getting down to Seneca and just all the little nooks and crannies, that I am inspired all the time by ordinary people who are looking for some sense of sanity and reason in our state, and they don't recognize what is happening. And as I look at the emails that I've been receiving throughout this campaign, people are watching. If they're in western Wisconsin, northern Wisconsin, eastern Wisconsin, then beyond that, in Colorado, in California, in Florida, that we're receiving emails and contributions from across this country from people who either have family that live here, or they were born here and raised here, and they just have this affection for Wisconsin and the ideals that it stands for, the values and the reputation of good, honest, transparent, open government. And we don't have that anymore. And people are responding across this country, they're engaged and they're motivated. And as we go out, and I can tell you that the volunteers, your effort has been outstanding down at the office and on the phones and on the doors. And we would hear if Senator Kapanke was doing something out at the doors. And we have yet to hear really anything. We heard when my opponent in July, that phony candidate who's running in the primary, we heard when he was knocking on doors to get signatures. In fact, neighbors were chasing him out of their neighborhood. That the reporter wrote about, summer is here and festivals and campaigns are in full swing, and Senator Kapanke was in the West Salem Dairy Days, and not only was he booed, but children threw their candy back at him. If kids are like 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, they don't want their candy. They're really mad about what's happening to the state of education in our state. But as we are going out, and we had a ballot fest this past weekend down at the office, we had handfuls of volunteers from Madison that came up, and it was a coordinated effort to be out throughout the state in all of the 9 recall elections. But we had folks that came up, and just these anecdotal stories. That I had a woman who was a family friend. Her 2 daughters have known my sister since Montessori school, and Neela has known me since I was 6 years old. And I've kind of lost contact with Neela, but my 2 sisters stay in touch with her daughters. When I walked into the campaign office, I saw this familiar face, and I was so puzzled. It wasn't in the right context of knowing where I've seen Neela Tagan. And I looked at her, I just said, are giving up their weekends, giving up their evenings to be on the phones and identifying our supporters throughout the 32nd, identifying yard sign locations, identifying people who come into the office and knock on doors. And so I just want to say thank you so much, but it is not over. And I can tell you that the chatter in Madison and the buzz in Madison is really good for us. But that doesn't matter to me. I want the chatter and the buzz back here in the 32nd to be good for us. And that is what matters. And I can tell you we are on the eve of something big. We are on the eve of something historic in this state. And as we have said, if we can't change their minds, we're going to change their faces. And I know we are going to do that here in Western Wisconsin on July 9th, and then on July 12th, and then August 9th. And I need your help. Because as I talk to people at the doors and I'm telling them I need a sense of urgency that we need to get out in the primary in July 12th, because they're going to cause some mischief. The Republicans would like nothing better than defeat Jen Shilling in her own Democratic primary. And we don't want to lose to a chump. We don't want to lose to a chump. And so we need to get out there with this phony candidate and make sure that our voices are heard at the ballot box, that we have this momentum. And still to this day, I can't understand the Republicans' thought process and their tactics as far as finding a Republican in the Democratic primary, because the headlines are going to come out the next day that Jen Shilling wins big and the momentum. If they were really thinking that they wanted to change the headlines for their opponent who was in trouble or their candidate who was in trouble, they should have run a primary, a fake primary against Senator Kapanke so that he could have come out with those strong headlines and build that momentum. But again, I don't understand the thought process. I don't understand the DNA. And so it is what it is, but we are going to treat July like it is a general election. And it's going to be a dry run for August, and I tell people this is not our first rodeo, that we've been through this before, and as the nasty ads are coming on TV and they're going to come heavy and fast, and this first ad, it's about a $50,000 buy that they have dropped here, but I look at that negative ad and I can tell you, I've never seen such nice pictures of myself that I thought they were. I was like, if I didn't have the volume up, I would have thought it was a pro-Jen ad, because here I'm a committee and looking thoughtful, and it's not a black and white scuzzy looking picture of me with my face contorted, and I'm like, those are nice pictures of me. So I got to thank them for at least putting nice pictures of me up there. But it's going to get nasty, it's going to get negative, and they're going to make me out to be the Cruella de Vil of Western Wisconsin. But we all, with your help and with those letters to the editors, thank you so much. We have every day, we've got a concerted presence in the paper, so thank you for that. But as we go out, we really need your help in July, because we want to build that momentum and move forward in August, and we're counting down the days, and it's to the point that, you know, Chris and I and the boys, we can do anything for 50 days or whatever we have, but after August 9th, like my idea of paradise right now is heading up to our cottage near Rhinelander and hanging out at the end of our lake in the pier with my feet in the water and having to use an outhouse for a couple days. I mean, that's how desperate I am for paradise. I will go somewhere without plumbing just to unplug. But we feel really good. I feel really good. We feel good where we're at, because we do have the momentum. We do have the buzz. That people are channeling in. And again, we're seeing faces that we have not seen before come out of the woodwork. And that chicken coop crazy last Friday, we had over 400 people. 400 people that were there. We could have served another 200 chicken meals. So next year, they're saying go big or go home. Next year we're going bigger with chicken coop crazy, and so we're going to have that again. But we just have the buzz. We've got the momentum, and I feel really good where we're at, but we're not taking anything for granted, because I'm competitive. I grew up playing sports, and I play to win, and I have never lost in any of the races that I've run, and I know we will not lose here together, because too much is at stake as we look about what's happening to education in our state, how we're treating one another, what's happening to health care. The list goes on and on and on, and after this budget, there could be no clear identifier of what are the differences between Republicans and Democrats, because just as we passed that budget at 3 a.m. after 13 hours of debate, well, just like a date, nothing good happens after midnight in the legislature. And so that vote came down, and we knew clearly that all the Democrats were going to be united, that we were going to stand united in the Senate and the Assembly.